So what happened next is a bit tricky because, as I mentioned before, I was not in contact with Jennifer after I sent that email to her, which was the point because I wanted to tell her off and I wanted to be done with her. The same could be said of Sam because Sam was done with her too. The only problem, the real problem, was that Sam was friends with Lauren and concerned about Lauren. So I was getting a lot of the information secondhand from Sam and screenshots of texts that Lauren was sending Sam. On top of that, Jennifer was still running her blog, TattleCrime.com, on Tumblr. And she had her personal blog, which was Freddie Lounds at Tumblr. They were still being updated and things were still coming along. So it wasn't really that hard to monitor what Jennifer was doing, nor was it that hard to monitor what Lauren was doing, because Lauren was updating her blog and Lauren was updating her Twitter. And through this, through Sam and through other people that were in the group and were still willing to talk to me, I was getting information. At the same time, I was running my own blog and I was exposing Jennifer. And I was trying to get any information I could on who this person was. Because keep in mind, even though I'm using her name now, Jennifer, at the time, I had no idea what her real name was. I knew it wasn't Frederica Avery. I knew it wasn't Freddie Lounds. I knew that she wasn't a fictional character, but she did a really, really good job hiding her identity. And even the people in her group wouldn't give away her real name. I had discussed with Sam prior to all of this that there had to be a reason that Jennifer was so scared to send people a picture of herself. I could understand to some level not wanting to post a picture on social media of her face, but she wouldn't send it privately. Like, she wouldn't send one to even Lauren before Lauren came to meet her. I guess I could understand her not wanting to send it to me or to Sam, but Lauren, who was going to meet her in person, never saw a picture of her before that moment, never saw her on video chat or anything, and had no idea what this woman looked like and just agreed to go anyway. And my theory was that Jennifer, whatever she looked like, whoever she was, she might be so recognizable that she was maybe wanted by police or something. Like, what she feared was that somebody could recognize her from a photograph and pinpoint where they recognized her from because she had done something illegal. To me, it didn't make any sense that she would be that afraid of a stalker that she wouldn't also privately send pictures to people or at least do video chat, because how would her stalker know about that? How would her stalker ever see that this had happened? And it was even unlikely that if she did have a stalker, that he would come to Hannibal on Twitter and go through all of that just to find her account and then find a picture of her. None of that made any sense. So the only thing I could think of was that she must be so recognizable to a certain amount of people that if she shows her face, she's going to get the police called on her or something like that's going to happen. And that's why she's hiding. It couldn't have had anything to do with this psycho ex-boyfriend nonsense. As I already said, her partner even said that she didn't have a stalker. Even though he refused to explain Jennifer's paranoia otherwise, he said that everything that she talked about with this ex-boyfriend was just completely false. So that was when I started my own blog and I started to expose Jennifer. And I was putting up all the evidence that I had. I had chat transcripts, which I still have now. I had some photographs, I had screenshots. I had enough things that were really bad that people were reacting to. And there were people who were siding with me and there were people who were agreeing with me, either because they looked at the evidence and they saw how fucking weird it was, or because they had been a victim of Jennifer in the Hannibal fandom themselves and they were coming to tell me their story. So this is where we kind of come in with Roxy's boyfriend, who actually contacted me and confirmed a lot of what I was saying, and then later turned around and said that I harassed him and that he never wanted to talk to me, which isn't true. But I got a lot of information from him specifically. So unless he is saying that to cover his ass so he won't be harassed, or it's his way of saying he was lying to me or something, I don't know. But I do know that he totally went back on his story, and then he played the victim, and he sided with this group of anti-people in their Discord where they all just jerk off about how much they hate me. And that's what happened. But a lot of my information came from him. So I don't know if he's refuting it or what, but it seems to line up with all of the other evidence that I have, because I have photos and I have blog posts and I have things like that that confirm what he told me. In any case, I still didn't know Jennifer's real name, even though I'm using it now. And that was kind of the most frustrating part of this, because people truly believed her name was Frederica. And she really played it up like, oh, it's just a coincidence. I happen to be named this. My last name isn't Lounds, it's Avery. But, you know, like, we're total like soul sisters or whatever. And I was meant to play this role, all of that. So if I would tell people that there was no possible way this was true, they would think I was just jealous or I was lying or I was hating for no reason. I was like, I know if I can find out who she really is, if I can find out her real identity, that is the only thing that's going to stop this. Because as long as she can hide behind the name Frederica Avery and she can say that's her real name, and she has like thousands of followers that believe this, even though it's absolute nonsense, there is no way that I'm going to be able to stop her. Now, in this time period, what I watched happen was Lauren was contacting former friends of hers before she had moved out there to live with Jennifer. She was contacting them and she was asking them for loans. Now, I'm not exactly sure what happened at this part. I don't know if Lauren was lying or if this really was the situation or if I was lied to previously, because this has never been clarified. But to my understanding, Lauren moved from Utah to move in with Jennifer. However, there are people who told me that she didn't immediately move in with Jennifer, but she got her own apartment. And then she was constantly texting them, begging for a loan because she needed to pay rent, or else she would have to move in with Jennifer. According to what Jennifer was posting on Twitter at the time, it appeared that they were living with each other already. However, I do admit that maybe Lauren was just spending a lot of time there and had her own place at first, and then later moved in with her. But whatever went on here, there was this story of she's either living with Jennifer and lying and trying to get money from people, or she actually did have her own apartment, and that didn't last very long before Jennifer convinced her to move in. And I don't know what the true story is there. I just know that you could see in this time period how obsessed Jennifer got with Lauren on Twitter, because you can see all these tweets, like these sexual weird tweets about like lying in bed with her, with him, and all of this stuff, like it was in character. And it was just like I did not like watching it. It creeped me out. It creeped Sam out. It creeped a lot of people out who were Lauren's friends, who she kind of turned their back on. And they slowly started to realize that she was taking their loan money and she was pretty much giving it to Jennifer. And she wasn't using it for what she was promising. She wasn't using it for what she was saying. Anyone I talked to who had loaned her money, like hundreds of dollars, they told me that she had claimed that it was for the purpose of not having to move in with Jennifer. But then it seemed maybe a month or two later, like she had totally not used the money for what she promised. And then when these people found this out, they tried to ask for their money back because it was supposed to be a loan, not a gift. And when they tried to do that, Lauren would just block them and not talk to them anymore. So she essentially stole a whole bunch of money from these people who were giving it to her in the good faith and the hope and the belief that she would not move in with Jennifer because they knew how bad Jennifer was. And Lauren just turned out to be a liar on that front and ended up living with Jennifer anyway, or was already living with her. Like I said, I don't know exactly how that happened, but I'm fairly sure by November or December of that year, she was living with Jennifer, and she had pretty much lost any sort of friendship she had before or outside of that group, because she had lied to so many people and she had taken out so many loans, and then she blocked people when they asked for their money back. So on my blog at the time, I had an ask box open so people could send me information, they could send me links, they could send me tips, all of that. At some point, somebody sent me some link to, I think it's called the Sarah Saga. It's not the Demon Sushi one, but it was like somebody else who was like kind of a split off from that cult. And I read it and I said, this kind of sounds like Jennifer, but not enough for me to think it's the same person. So it was interesting, but I didn't think it was going anywhere and I just kind of disregarded it. It was maybe a month or two later that somebody sent me a link to the Demon Sushi website and said, this person sounds exactly like Jennifer Cornett. And I wasn't at all like, this had happened so many times. Like I had been sent so many bogus links that I already knew were bogus that I was just like, you know, I'll read it, but I really don't think that this is going to be the answer. And yet as I read it and I saw all of this information and I read the stories, and there's even a letter in there where somebody is calling her out and calling her insane in almost the same way that I called her out in my own email. And I'm like, there is no way this is not the same person. There's absolutely no way. So I contacted the owner of the website and I told him a bit about what was going on. And I asked him if he thought that I was dealing with Jennifer. And I think there were a few emails exchanged, not a ton of them, because I didn't want to bother him that much. But he said something along the lines of, this does sound a lot like Jennifer. However, if she doesn't say her name is Jennifer Cornett, there's no way to confirm or deny it. And I said, okay, I agree with you. And I did agree with that because it made a lot of sense. And I just stopped bothering him at that point. Now, there's this narrative that I harassed him and I bothered him and I stalked him into telling me information. I don't know if he made up that narrative. I don't know if other people did. All I know is that I really didn't want to bother him too much, so I didn't really push for information, and I only sent a few emails. That's the truth. In any case, I was pretty sure, I was like 99.9% sure at this point that I was dealing with Jennifer Cornett, and this was not somebody named Freddie. This was not somebody who was a fictional character. This was the person from that website. At some point, I tweeted to her directly, Jennifer Cornett, is that you? Or something along those lines. I don't know if that's verbatim, but that's pretty close to whatever it was I said. I said, are you Jennifer Cornett, or Jennifer Cornett, is that you? Within a day, her Twitter was private, and within 2 days, her website was taken down, and there was a message saying that TattleCrime had shut down, thank you for all your service, and she never came back. That was enough confirmation, not only for me, but like a ton of people. A ton of people who didn't believe me before were like, why would she delete everything and go private if she wasn't Jennifer Cornett? Still, there was a whole cult of people who thought I was insane, that I was lying, that I was Jennifer myself and I was trying to frame her for what I was doing. There was this whole narrative from like these really crazy people who wanted to defend her that this wasn't true. Instead of anybody trying to do anything about this, what happened was the sane people who realized that I was correct and that she really was Jennifer, those people accepted the information. But then we have a minority of insane people. And as you know, insane people can be so much louder, so much more persistent, and so much more obnoxious than the majority. And it makes it seem like there's a lot of them, when in reality, there's only like 10. Those people were so outspoken and so awful and so determined not only to deplatform me, but to get me to unalive myself, that anything I said that was factual, anything that I could prove that was factual, was buried completely, because they made websites about me, they hacked my accounts, they made accounts pretending to be me, they stole my photographs, they bothered my family, they started to harass people at my job. There was a point where I was at work and I was getting text messages of photos outside of my work, and whoever was sending me these text messages was saying that they knew where I worked, they knew where I was, they were coming to get me, all of this stuff. The police had to be called. There was a report that was filed. I had to explain all of this to my boss. I mean, these people were actively trying to ruin my life for exposing who this person was, an objectively bad person, a literal cult leader. And that is what took over, is this minority group of people with nothing to do other than harass the shit out of me and my family and my friends and my workplace for going on 10 years now, because everybody else kind of forgot except for them. And they are so devoted to Jennifer and this narrative that I'm somehow the villain for exposing her that, yeah, they very much are still doing it to this day. In fact, just a day or two after I put up my first video, I was just spammed with comments that YouTube filtered out because of the language from one of these people who has been tracking me for a decade. That's the kind of crazy that I was up against, because normal people, they didn't care that much, or they weren't really going to do anything about it. And then we have the 5 to 10 people with all this misinformation, all these fake photographs, all these fake conversations, all these fake screenshots, all of this information twisted out of context. They are telling people that I'm the villain, that I'm the stalker, that I'm the cult leader, and that I'm the one who needs to be destroyed. And in all of this, because a lot of them were Jennifer's followers, a lot of them were in Jennifer's cult, a lot of them did give her a lot of money and believed in her rhetoric. In all of this, Jennifer used that time to escape. If people would have not been like that, something could have been done at that point, more than likely. Maybe not, but a lot more could have been done than allowing Jennifer to escape and literally move across the country. This isn't entirely where the story ends though, because I eventually did get an update and get more information and get 100% confirmation that the person I was dealing with was Jennifer Cornett. The only problem is that even with proof positive evidence from a reliable source, still nobody wanted to believe me.